Hello, and welcome to this Creation Entertainment salute to Battlestar Galactica that took place in New Jersey, September 19th through the 21st. The panels, there were lots of very interesting panels. Jason Ebert, who is a PhD and the Hubert Mader Chair in Bioethics, Professor of Philosophy, gave us really engaging talk about the biopolitics of Battlestar Galactica and Caprica. He talks about the phases of the show and its philosophical implications. Probably the highlighting headliner panel was Edward Olmos, who plays Adama, and he talked about, or the interviewer had him kind of go through starting from his childhood, and he talked about his childhood growing up and how he got engaged in dancing and baseball, and had a lot of perseverance and dedication, and became a top baseball player by the age of 12. And he did a lot of very interesting work on films, working Ridley Scott and Blade Runner, Stand and Deliver, which he said was one of the most widely watched movies that's ever been made because it's shown in classrooms around the USA. A mafia movie called American Me, Zoot Suit, Valley of the Heart, that's a current project that he's working on that's going to make its debut soon. Now, in all these panels, I just highlight here some of the best questions that were asked, and not necessarily all the questions. So it was a question about him having to make military decisions and how that's gut-wrenching and difficult when you send people out and potentially lives are lost. That's a very difficult thing for a military leader to do. He touched on some of the themes of Battlestar Galactica, the role of AI and slavery and moral decisions, and there was a discussion about humans that are becoming more machine-like and the evolution of artificial intelligence and machine learning and AGI, and how that's starting to infuse itself into our society. There was a panel by Tamo Penniket, who plays Hilo, and they asked him to talk about the scene in the resurrection ship. It was an incredibly intense scene, emotionally charged scene. There was a question about his relationship with Ty, his audition experiences, and his thoughts on the sound guys and other departments. And he noted that the sound guys were had a good sense of humor. There was another question that a person observed that his call sign Hilo was the name that he was always called by, even in casual situations. So, and his response was that, well, people use nicknames, and that's a name that people just tended to use with him. There was a question about what was his favorite part of the Battlestar Galactica ship. So he talked a little bit about the set, and its set was apparently so large that you can get lost in it. And he verbally described how amazing some of the places were that they created. There was a joint panel by Jamie Bamber, who plays Apollo Adama, and James Callis, who plays Dr. Gaius Baltar. They were asked questions like, how are we pawns of technology? What talk about the conscience of Battlestar, conscious and moral and ethical dilemmas they had to face. Did they have a sense of flying in space, as actors when they were behind green screens? But they asked, this is a question to Jamie. They asked him, did you get a sense of like what it was like to fly in space? He's talked about that experience. Somebody asked him about him working with Patrick Stewart, and he talked about his experiences working on a show in Picard during COVID, and it took many months to film one episode, and Patrick Stewart goes, "Are we still filming that episode?" There was a question about their characters' endings, Apollo and Baltar's ending at the end of Battlestar, and what were their thoughts on the redemption and how did the story end? Were their thoughts on the writers and some of the worst case scenarios they dreamed up? Did they learn things from other actors, and how do they riff and play off each other? And there was a question about acting and accents. There was another panel that was three of the ladies from three of the women from Battlestar Galactica: Tricia Helfer, who plays number 6; Grace Park, who plays Boomer; and Rekha Sharma, who plays Tory Foster. They were asked questions or talked about casting and costumes in Rebirth. There was this goo that they had to immerse themselves in. Rekha was asked about her Serpent audition, which she gave it her emotional all and elicited a strong emotional response, and that was a good thing. They talked about social themes in Battlestar Galactica: betrayal, conflict, toil, and some of the bigger questions. Tricia was asked about her thoughts on playing multiple variants of number 6, and was that difficult, and how was that portrayed? How was she able to do that? They were asked, did they keep any props, and acting in those dark and emotionally charged scenes. Next, Mark Sheppard, who played Romo Lampkin. He was asked about his thoughts on a lawyer surviving New Caprica. Another question about issues of humanity, righteous indignation, justice, and consequences. He talked about his acting methodologies of acting from Stanislavski. His sense of a hero versus villain, and sometimes how that's subjective, or sometimes a hero is a matter of perspective. And would he envision Battlestar Galactica like Elseworlds or fan fiction or alternate roles? And what did he think of the Battlestar Galactica universe? There were a lot of all those actors that had panels also had tables, so you could meet them face to face, get a chance to meet and greet, and get their autographs. So those are always great. So a lot, the actors had their tables and their handlers. There was also a cosplay contest. So these are the winners are on the left, and the as a team, Apollo and Starbuck, and in the middle, Adama, and third place on the right. The Dave and Dave, who were the flight with the flight costumes. They talked about how they made them, and how they talked about how they were able to get or assemble the parts of their costume. This is the some of the finalists here. So, and there was also a yes/no trivia contest. So people were basically asked a series of yes or no questions, and like that essentially got progressively more difficult. So there were 2 rounds, and the finalists in each round got a Creation Entertainment gift certificate. The vendor area, there were lots of vendors there. I only have a picture of a few of them here. So lots of interesting memorabilia, models, books, pins, badges, you name it. They had lots and lots of interesting memorabilia. If you're a Battlestar Galactica fan, you could find something for you. They also had an auction. So they had lots of big rollout posters, the big banners that all the actors signed. So this particular banner you see here, you can see the person's fingers at the top of the banner here. It's taller than a person, and that ended up going for $450. So thank you for watching this video. I have to say it was an amazing experience. If you ever get a chance to attend, particularly the Battlestar Galactica or the Star Trek conventions, the actors are just wonderful people, and it's you're hearing from the highlights of their career, and some of their most interesting thoughts and experiences. I felt just supercharged after going to the convention. It was so amazing. And if you stick around for a bit, I'll attach a couple of live clips for you. Thanks.
So true, and frightening. I was listening to something on the radio just a couple of days ago, and it ties in with this. I can't remember who it was, a very smart guy, and he was like, we're all becoming machines. And he's like, this mechanization from the Industrial Revolution in England, there's this thing, you look at a train or like a locomotive, and really the power behind that thing is unstoppable. And it's like we're propelling ourselves into the future, but the further we propel ourselves into the future, essentially it's like we're losing our humanity, because we are becoming, our lives are governed by machines. And then there's this thing about like you becoming mechanic or mechanical or a machine, which essentially then, stops you from feeling things about other people or allows you to categorize. I mean, there's a whole meta thing, isn't there? Because the Cylons, and they were, androids, etc. Who is the machine? Who is the human being, essentially?
Yeah, no, I think
future, if we can turn around and understand ourselves to be the best that we can be today better than you were yesterday. So say we all. So